Thank you very much for inviting me here. When Apurvaji asked me to come and be a part of this program on resistance, I was thinking of all the reasons that I want to stand here in solidarity with those who feel that resistance is the theme of our time. And I'm standing here today because I don't want to be part of a society where the new normal is for members of parliament to offer their heads in parliament, for the new normal to be where a public figure can say that if the law allowed it, that they would cut off lakhs of people's heads, where the new normal is that professors can be kicked out of universities for inviting professors from other universities to speak, a new normal where when a man is lynched to death, the argument is over whether the meat in his fridge is mutton or beef, the new normal where those who are fighting for ecology and environment are deemed anti-nationals. And the list is just endless, and we don't need to go into it because all of us are aware of it. But if you crystallize all of that, then the real danger of our time is that the wonderful plurality that is the bedrock, not just of this nation, but this society and this civilization, is under threat. The real danger is that we are trying, the attempt now is for us to be homogenized. So most of all, I'm here really to resist the idea of homogeneity. I'm really here because today our nationalism is under test, and I want to stand here and say that I will not say Bharat Mata Ki Jai, and I will not be forced to say that to prove my love for this country. I will not have my love defined, I will not have the love of others defined, and I will live continually in this society as pride, not just as a legal part of the society, but as an emotional citizen who's part of this country. My years of journalism has taught me one truth, and that is that India is not one country. At the very least, it is two continents. There is the India that we inhabit when you are middle class, English speaking, part of the consumerist class, even more than the middle class. And that is a robust, benign, very, sort of salubrious democracy. And then there is another democracy that others experience. And they are the Dalits, the tribals, the workers, the minorities, the Muslims. And the India that they experience is not the India that I experience. And when they resist it, when they criticize it, when those who feel their issues criticize it as well, that is when the idea of this country is kept safe. Out of that criticism, out of that dissent, out of that resistance, the creative middle, out of that creative tension between those who enjoy the benefits of this country and those who are denied the benefits of this country, the real process of democracy is maintained and kept safe. And yet, even as I say this, I would urge us to go one step further, which is not, when Rohit's suicide letter was found, the phrase that struck me most was that he despaired of being reduced to the narrowest identity. And I would say today that we need to fight for principles, not for identity, not because, Buddhism is greater than Hinduism or Islam is greater or my idea of India is greater or any, but because there are some principles that are inalienable, and they are written into our constitution. And when we fight, it should not be because I don't want to give up Hinduism. I am a Hindu, my sister is a Buddhist, and this is not really a fight where we should even give Hinduism over to its most right-wing proponents. And as much as Islam should not be given over to Islamists, or indeed Buddhism to Sinhala chauvinists. So the fight really is for principles and to fight for individuality. And again, I would urge with great passion that we also fight for a society where there can exist the idea of complexity, where everything is not reduced to its narrowest black and white positions, where we allow for human nature, we allow for doubt, we allow for the lack of certainty. On 13 January, there is a Bhim Yatra. On 13 January, there's a Bhim Yatra that will finally culminate in Delhi's Jantar Mantar. And 125 families who have lost their workers, who are sewage cleaners, who've lost their families in manholes, will be coming here to ask for justice. It would be really odd if they were forced to say Bharat Mata Ki Jai, because the India they experience is not an India that we should be celebrating. And I'd like to reiterate again that it is out of that criticism that this country stays robust. Yes, the BJP and the RSS has an ideology that is inherently antithetical to some of the constitutional values that we have all agreed to live by. A democracy is not just the majority mood. It is not the public vote. It is also some principles that at the very foundation we agreed to live by. And the reason we resist, some of us as journalists, others as activists, as students, we resist that ideology not because one wants to be immediately categorized as Congress supporters. And that's why I'd like to stand here today and say that I do feel a great degree of despair as a journalist because I don't know what structures to turn to. The Congress is not something that we can believe in anymore. The Samajwadi Party is not something that we can believe in anymore. So when we fight the BJP, the greatest instrument of change in a democracy is the political instrument. Where is that political instrument today? It's not the BSP, it's not the SP, it's not the Samajwadi, it's not the TMC. Where is that political instrument? So I'd like to leave us with just a couple of thoughts. My source of hope is that I do believe that history can change on the shoulders of just one person. And there are innumerable students here today that have proved that the individual belief, individual faith, and individual conviction can turn the wheels of history. There is no fixed reality. What is today can change tomorrow merely by that one person's conviction, and I keep faith with that. But I also believe that all the structures through which democracy expresses itself is in grave danger. And we need a great degree of creative and intellectual ferment to understand what are these new structures beyond the resistance. When a Kanhaiya Kumar speaks, what are the structures that can take that forward? When Sneha speaks, or any of the others, what structures will take that movement forward beyond the immediate euphoria of the moment? And I see those structures to be missing in the media, in politics, and everywhere. So that is something that I feel we need a great degree of intellectual and creative ferment about. And one last thing that I'd like to leave us with is that there was a time when the binary between capitalism and socialism made sense. There was a time when the binary between communalism and capitalism made sense. There was a time when the binary between Congress and BJP made sense. But I think we genuinely need a new kind of politics, a new kind of public discourse today that finds a creative middle. Because even when we speak here, and I would not presume, and I don't think anybody, even from the Dalit or tribal community, can presume to speak for their community, because there's such a variety of desires and ambitions that have been let loose, that we need to find the creative middle. Can we find a language which allows us all to exist without outlawing each other? Because when we outlaw, and I stand here today say that this community that stands for very important principles have been guilty of outlawing others as well. And when you outlaw other people's intellectual beliefs, we corner ourselves into the kind of positions where we are today, where our own thoughts are not allowed to be expressed. Can we find that creative middle? Can we find a new public discourse? Those are the questions that I worry about, whether as a journalist or as a citizen. Thank you very much for having me.